You can evaluate its impact on your business, and finally you get the list of requirements. Or if you don't go into Agile way at all, you have a big book of 500 pages with a specification, which is a list of requirements, what to do one by one. Now, the difference between Agile approach and the waterfall approach to software development on the level of delivering value is that we want to deliver value not once at the end of the project, but frequently at the end of each cycle. Usually, if we are starting analysis, implementation, testing, deployment, and so on, the value is at the end. You get the product. In Agile, we would like the product, or not the entire product, part of the product, to be delivered at the end of each of the cycle, one by one, and it's growing. And when you run out of the specification of the backlog, which means we added everything to the product is complete. However, it is usable already after the first iteration, second, and so on. And the main idea is that somebody, product owner, product manager, is a person who has to choose which items from the list should be implemented first. If it's not software, which items from the list have to be done first. If we are building a house, I believe we should start with foundations, but that's the technical dependency. We cannot start from the roof, or maybe we can. No, we can, and then put it on top of something. We could actually, on the or the piles. We could, right? And in software, it's more fluid. We can start whatever we want, and there are some ways of prioritization of the list, and one of the key ways is focus on the value. So when I have the entire specification, somebody has to tell me which element brings the value, the highest value, which one I would start with. And I would like to throw that question to you actually. What techniques do you use? What techniques do you know? How do you know where to start?
Okay, it is. To have a value of every feature, you can use some scoreboard. You need some score values when you can plus and multiply and have one single number that you can use to prioritize the tasks of features.
So you say scoreboard, and
yes,
write it down if I survive on the board. Just keep going. Scoreboard. Can you draw how does it look like?
It's like if you have options, then you can draw.
I'm not good at drawing, honestly.
The list of features. Here how we can measure every feature, like
maybe you can put its value for the customer and its cost.
it's a lot of values, like return, is it feature, return your client again, yes? Is it feature, make your average check bigger, yes? Bigger average check, and so on. So here, feature 1 is 1, 2, 4, 0, 1. The next feature is 3, 1, no, 2, 0. The next things, you have a lot of these options, and you should prioritize them also. Like RC, back, these have 1 multiply, these have 3 multiply. And then you just calculate them as a result. Yes. So here, RC is 1 by 1, back is 2 by 3, and so on. So this is 7, this is 6. So feature number 1 is have high priority, and feature number 2.
What's
So
1 and 3?
1 and 3?
Yes.
You should have multiplied, I think.
Just multipliers, yes. Efficiency.
Yeah.
Efficiency.
Коефіцієнти на які можуть.
Так.
Звідки?
Якщо фіші є, там, наприклад,
Давайте я українською, бо я від англійською трошки важко.
Множиться на 3 тоді.
Так, наприклад, вам важливіше, щоб ваш середній чек був вищий, так? Для ваших... Для вас...
Наше уявлення про її важливість.
Так, обов'язково ваше. Уявлення ваших клієнтів.
Ну, так.
Так? Ви можете зробити опитування. Тобто, або ваше, так. В даному випадку ваше. Клієнту не важливо не платити багато деяким клієнтам. А вам важливо, щоб ваш середній чек ріс. Якщо вам важко вирости в кількості продаж, то для вас важливо, щоб виріс середній чек на 20%, тому ваш прибуток виросте там, на 200%, уявно. Так, тому для вас це фіча номер 1, тобто не те, що фіча, показник. Тому він дуже важливий для вас. Якийсь там показник повернення клієнтів, якщо у вас разовий сервіс, ну він якби не особливо там для вас і користується.
Цифра це наскільки та фіча, наскільки ці фічі задовольняють цю ціль.
Так. Відповідно, для того, щоб мати пріоритети цих оцінок, тут ви таким чином, наскільки ця фіча може впливати на ці оцінки. Далі у вас є чітке одне число 7,6. І ви точно бачите, над чим вам варто працювати в першу чергу.
Who does it? The technique. Who does the technique?
Who does?
Yeah, who feels
Who's
it?
responsible for handling this in the project?
Product manager.
So it's a product manager who feels everything here.
You can ask an expert.
Okay.
He needed.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Exactly.
My name is Max.
I have a question. What other techniques do you know or use?
I use a very similar technique, but it's not related to scoring, but to it's called Moscow. So it's
Moscow, yeah.
can I explain it?
Yes.
So you draw red stars?
Not necessarily, but
It's called like so it's a acronym from must, should, can, and would. You have the same feature 1, feature 2, feature n. It's we use actually this approach to prioritize task in backlog for some specific release. So it's like a short-term planning, and you just select this feature must, this should, this again must, and this should, and after that you just implement only must features. After that, could, should, and wouldn't. Very simple.
Okay, and what you will do in cases if a feature that you must implement is really big feature?
That's a good question. Yeah. So the first approach is to divide this certain feature into to split actually the feature into many.
It's the same priority.
Yeah. So because the whole feature is
Not
must.
necessarily. So we right now we run the project that's like a couple million of budget, and we have I can explain more about that case study. So we start an engagement, and as an input, so the company said we would prefer if you go with agile on that project, but the company used to work in waterfall. That's why they hired us, because they said we need a vendor who is able to handle this in the right way. We are a waterfall company. We didn't want to have this in agile, but they said we have 186 pages document that's going to be your initial input, which is good, by the way, because it's even better to start from this. It's much better than just a vision. All right, then what's going to be our next step? So, if you don't mind,
Yeah, sure.
so I guess it correlates with all the techniques that we described before. We use different colors, so we have some rainbow here. So, what we did, first of all, step number one is this spec to user story. Very obviously, because Agile cannot operate with the document, 200 pages document. So we have to go from spec to user story. Moreover, the other challenge was, and still is, what Paul was describing in the presentation, that we couldn't wait until we get this converted. Because it took us, and we started this in September and finished this just 2 weeks ago. So what we had to do, as soon as we have converted like a couple user stories, a couple epics, we start the engineering, while the other conversion is still going on. So it's all, yep. So it looks like this, all processes continuously. So this is the, well, let's say this is the conversion, estimation, clarification, implementation. Then the other process will be added, which is like operations. The software will be put to some environment and will be operated.
How did you choose the specs, the first specs to be converted in the first round to first user stories? Because I believe they have the highest value, right? Luckily, in this case, the document was, in the way it was written, section by section, was kind of the order they wanted. Okay.
But not literally, but sort of. We should implement it in. There was like the module. This is the very giant financial application that does pricing and costing and pricing.
Mm-hmm.
So the costing was described near to perfectly, while pricing was like just a couple pages. In fact, this is half and a half. But we said, okay, at least we have costing described, so we can develop the costing module. That's good. But anyway, we went from the spec to user stories. Well, next round is, we call this backlog clarification, or, well, I would say backlog grooming. That's better. This is when you pick up this is that process. So, second process is actually you take the user story from the backlog and you determine it. So first of all, you specify this business value. We enter this field. It's a very relative, very abstract value from 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Just like it's a very subjective measurement, but it's still used.
Key point is how you do this.
It's so we have business analyst team,
Mm-hmm.
we have a product owner, and this is their decision. I mean, they just decide. But it's not an ultimate metric that we follow. It's very niche. Then we have buckets. This R0, R1, and R2. We call them like usually must, nice, sometime. And we control, of course, the project is fixed budget, fixed term, everything is very fixed. So our goal is make sure that R0 never exceeds the budget. Moreover, it's never higher than 80% of our budget, because you always have that risks buffer. You never should consume it. So we control that. So it means that whatever happens, we have to do R0. Even like if we drop our margins, but R0 must be. Now there was a question a couple of minutes ago, what if we have the chunk here too big in R0, or this release 0? Then what we do is we split it. But if you split the user stories or epic into other parts and they still have the same priority, it means that the split makes no sense, basically. It might be done just for like convenience, for specification and so on, but generally, for example, to fit into one iteration, because to avoid carryovers. But usually, if they are of the absolutely same priority, it means that, well, most likely that makes no sense. So we split it, and we in a way that, okay, this part is must be. But if we speak about like having the drag and drop instead of selecting from a drop down, we better go with a drop down in the initial story, and this sexy UI goes to R1 or maybe even like further deeper. That's it. The bad habit that might be here when people start attaching the so important requirements to R0 type of stories. That's why we have this backward grooming. It happens, it's a cyclic process. So we go and pass over the same user stories again and again. That's why we have BA team, and the requirements manager and the technical product managers, and they circle. So far they didn't complete the first loop because project is quite long, the scope is huge, but as soon as they complete the first loop, they will start reviewing them again and again and again and purifying them as much as they can.
May I have a question?
Of course.
To write something, I have to write something because I proposed the topic of value, and I just forgotten to ask you what value is. How do you consider a value? May I wipe it? Oh, do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
And it always works with the car. Imagine we are a factory delivering cars. And there's a car. Oh my god.
Make it square wheels.
And there's another car. Looks similar.
Sport car.
Which car has higher value?
What's in it?
It's exactly the same. Yes.
Depends on your goals.
Exactly.
I
Very
believe this first one should be convertible.
true. When I'm talking about value, I'm talking about the customer value. What the product gives to my customers, not to me as a producer. So it's not about price, it's about what customer needs. So let me give you another example. Okay, that's a tractor. Now, which vehicle gives the higher value?
Depends who you are and how deep the mud is.
Yes, exactly. Perhaps this car not there. Actually, it depends on the customer. So, whatever technique you use to evaluate, to identify the value, what I recommend, the agile word is to bring the voice of the customer. We've seen in Moscow, we've seen the scoreboard. I like both, I use both. However, what we do in the agile world, we are transferring the responsibility for identification of the value to the customer, to the market. And the technique that I would like to show, it's called buy a feature. Did you hear about it maybe? It's very similar to what we've seen already. So I could again. If I have a list of features exactly as in the scoreboard, so feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, and so on. Instead of sitting in front of a scoreboard and trying to evaluate different angles, different impact of these features on my business, I'm giving the voice in this technique by a feature. To the audience. It might be either a set of users from user community, it might be either a set of stakeholders, why not, a set of managers, a set of customers, whatever you have actually. And each of them have a column, and each of them in this technique receives $1,000 points, whatever. And the idea is customer 1, customer 2, customer 3, and so on. Each of you has to distribute this amount among the features as you wish. It's going to be your answer how much relatively you would like to pay for particular features. And for customer 1 with customer 1's needs, you would say, oh, this is very important for me. I'm putting 500 here. This is not at all. Let it be 50 here, 150 here, and so on, but the sum has to be 1,000. Similar here, here, and here. And when we have the voice of all the customers, we can have the sum of sums. And here we know which features get what amount of money. So I really like the idea of scoreboard. However, you do it with your users or the customers. Yes.
Are they allowed to change the amount as they go down as the features? For example, they scored the first one as 500, and is it okay to change to 400 and add?
During the technique, yes. I've seen various variations of that. For instance, one variation is that we are really playing it on the table, and on the table there are pieces of paper with the features, and you have received real, well, not real, but money from Monopoly, and you don't have 1,000, just 1,000. You have 1,000, but in 10 notes. There's one note, 500, so you have to put the total 500 and something. There are 2 notes, 100, and so on until 1,000.
So they are limited.
So they are limited, most likely will not cover all the features even. That's a variation of the technique. Anybody uses something similar to this?
It's like Scrum Poker, but another type. But I have a question. Do we need to use here it's in our team, or we need to organize like a focus group from our customers, but the users, and then to use it?
What do you think?
I think the second one is more preferable, because you are not your customer.
And if you have no customers, because you're a startup?
But I will.
Yeah, but you don't. But I would say if you have no customers or country representatives, yes, do it with your team. It's always better if my team does it with me than I do it personally. It's better when customers does it on their own. Not my team or me personally, it depends what you have. But the more people, the wisdom of crowds works. The more people are involved, the better it is. Okay.
I would say that this is one of the questions for today. How do you find that test groups of customers to validate your assumptions? Are there any tools, techniques, or maybe you can buy that service?
There are. Big corporations, what I've seen, have their own user communities. Which means if I'm a Microsoft, once a year I'm having a big conference of Microsoft users, maybe Microsoft is a bad idea. If I'm Apple, I have a conference of users of Apple, and during the conference I have lots of surveys, lots of talks, discussions, and so on. I've seen smaller corporations doing the same. So I have key customers that I really care about. They are not buying 1, 2 products, but plenty of them, or plenty of licenses. If I'm a startup, I've seen in a couple of applications a feature that after new versions appears, I have a pop-up, hey, we are thinking of this or this feature, which one of these 2 would like us to implement next? And you have to choose one of these 2. It's maybe not the full analysis, but they got immediately a result. This is all about usability, user experience. For instance, eye tracking systems or mouse tracking systems. If I know that my customers click a lot in this area of a website, that means they care about this area of website. Perhaps the functionalities in this area of website are what they need, so let's invest there, for instance. There are some so-called focus group research, which is maybe not in IT, I've never seen it in IT, when a company doing focused research goes to the street and picks up you, and you, I will give you $100 if you spend with me 4 hours. And in one room they spend 4 hours, and the lady is showing, this is the product. Would you buy this or would you buy this? This is the cover. And there's a huge Venice mirror, and behind the mirror there are representatives of our company, there are lots of cameras, voice, and so on. People here had no idea about it. And we look what is the impression also on the face of people touching this thing. I've seen it in a factory of chocolate. when they just wanted to know what kind of wrapping packaging is correct with that.
If your business is B2B, how to find the focus group?
Well, among your so far customers, I would say, but we touching here marketing actually purely. So if you have customers who are coming back to you, there's something that they like. I would like to know what is it. Simply like that. So invitation for such a survey or a research, my so far customers, I think it's a great idea. Or giving them something for free if it's not a recurrent customer. There's one more formal method that I use rarely, and I have 3 minutes only. I'm not going to discuss it because I think it's total studies. I think it's Kano analysis. Kano analysis, because of the name of Mr. Kano. It's something really similar but very formal. There are also features in here, but instead of abstract points like in Scrum Poker or abstract money like in Buy a Feature, there are 4, as far as I remember, different types of things that people think the feature will bring to them. For instance, it's a feature that everybody has, so we have to have it too. Or it's a feature that makes a difference between us and the other competitors. So if we have it, that means that's something new, edge cutting, and so on, but in different classifications. You don't have numbers out from that, but you see which features everybody has, which is an information for you, which features nobody has, and this is something for you, which features everybody has and nobody cares about, and so on, depending on how to do the analysis. It's a very formal, and the formal way is you're sending the paper survey or online survey to your customers or users, and that's it. It's much better or faster if you, not better, but faster, if you have it internally in your company with stakeholders, board of members and so on. You have an in-house product. For startups you don't, so perhaps touching the users directly would be much better. We're running out of time, but I think we still have a minute or two.
Yes, we do, so we can take like 2-3 minutes.
Any questions, any especially inputs from you to the board?
When we have this research group, is it okay to persuade your colleagues to pay more for the feature, for example, you like? Or should be silent meaning?
In Buy a Feature, I think it's a silent. However, I can imagine a workshop when we can do it and have this kind of thing. I think I even seen it, and it was called maybe a different way. But we're negotiating. If I really care about one of the features, but I cannot enter 1,000 there, I can convince everybody else. But it's a way how you organize the workshop, because it's an event. You have to put people into the room in that case. If you don't need this interaction, you can do it actually offline. Or online, even on paper, because every participant had to fill own column, and then you aggregate it all together. It's quite fast and quite good way. A question appeared during a break on which level should we do it. If I have a long backlog of very detailed user stories, or for instance I have vision and just the feature areas, or I have feature areas and so on, I would say it depends what you want. Simple. It should be done at the highest level, definitely. But if I have, coming back to my example from the speech, payment and payment with credit card, and within payment with credit card I have a feature payment with Visa credit card, and I have it in small pieces down, maybe these pieces down, you don't need to do this. You take care about payment or payment with credit card and something else, and you do evaluation here. It's a very complex topic, I think, and I wanted to bring it up just because it's important. And the final thing, if there are no more questions, is a chart that I wanted to show you. Have you seen the burnout chart, product burnout chart? I think you did. For people who didn't, very fast. So if that's the timeline, and that's the backlog of things to do, not necessarily in dollars, how many dollars your customer achieved after using this feature, but in abstract points. You can have a similar chart related to the business value. The chart is called usually burn up chart, value burn up chart, and it says at the beginning of the project, the value that you deliver to the customer equals 0 because it's the beginning of the project. And it should equal 100% at the end of the project, somewhere here, right? That's the end of the project. So that's the trend. Now, if you're working iterations and you're bringing this value from iteration to iteration, and you're really treating seriously the ordering, prioritization of the backlog, so that features of the highest value are at the beginning, this chart shouldn't go like that. It should go like that. Right? During the first iterations, the growth of the value is the highest, because the highest value is delivered first. That means if you run out of budget, for instance here, 60% of time spent, 100% of budget, we don't have 60% of value, we have more, because we invested in a conscious prioritization of the backlog so that elements of the highest value are at the beginning. This chart is called value burn up chart. And if they want me to come again to Lviv next year, I'm going to talk about value then. Spoiler. Any questions, comments? Any time?
No time, but can you move on without questions?
Abstract points would be the best. Either these dollars that I showed you.
You have this 100, but still, then you just need to like.
Okay, what worked very fast? What worked very fast for me is the BVI, Business Value Index. BVI is likely to be. If I have the entire product, the entire full product, everything, it brings 100% of value, right? It's everything, 100%. That's the vision level. If I have this product in the visual level, in this big picture section, middle, bottom, I have a couple of functional areas, area 1, area 2, area 3. With that or any other game, I can say what's the value in abstract points. And I can divide the 100% relatively in here. Let's say from $1,000, here was $500, 100, 100, 300. That means that was 50% of the total value, that was 10, that was 10, and that was 30%. Business Value Index. If I have this now decomposed into features or user stories, I can do the game for this part as well. Do basic calculation. It says this is 5% of the total value, this is 10%, this is let it be 35%, because it has to equal to 50, and so on and so on. And these values you put in here. It's not in dollars, as we would expect value. It's not in abstract points dollars, it's in percents of the total value that would be brought by the entire product. I'm shutting up.
Okay, thanks. Well, first of all, thank you all for driving this.